Hold it! Stay right there. What are you waiting for? Kill them! Kill them both! Now, wait a minute. Is it money you're after? I'll give you as much as you want.
May the saints forgive you, because I won't.
Hey, you're listening to another episode of Threshold Saints. This is Jin the Ninja, and enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, and welcome to my channel. If this is the first time that you're coming across one of my videos, welcome. In this channel we talk about the occult, tarot, the paranormal, but today I have my guest here. It's Jin the Ninja from Threshold Saints. I will have all of his links down in the description below. We're going to be talking about the Lesser Key of Solomon. And this is a grimoire. Okay. Jin, go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody and tell them what your background is.
Sure. So, thank you so much, Megan, for having me on. It's really an honor.
Absolutely.
I love your material. I mean, I've told you all this, but I do actually really like your material. I think you do a great job of doing introductory, but also like not just introductory, but you know, you give a little more. So I really appreciate that. And I think everybody really appreciates that. So my background is, I would say in my 20s, more left-hand path orientation. But I've been a Buddhist for like probably 20 some years, but I wasn't necessarily serious about it until I just kind of realized I had to rectify or maybe repair some things that I had done, and also myself, just I had to kind of rebalance, bring myself back to the middle pillar. So my background in Buddhism really was useful for that, and then I started to realize how similar it is, and how it's really a theurgic process. And then when I started listening to a lot of podcasts, like especially in 2020 and then the subsequent years, I just realized how similar it all was, like how everything is sort of interrelated, sort of perennial. And I just heard people like you talking about internal alchemy and how it's a theurgic process, and that's my orientation too. So my whole idea was to kind of present this idea of what tantra really is, not just sex magic, because it's not really about sex magic.
Right.
It's not.
Right.
I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm not saying that's bad. But I'm just saying that my thing is to present it in a totally different way, more of a magical orientation, more of a sorcery orientation, but for higher purposes, more of a theurgic orientation, you could say.
Yeah.
So Lee asked me from Subconscious Realm, shout out to him. Lee asked me on to, I was just like an esoterica poster on Twitter, just kind of like doing fun things, you know, with art and pictures and stories and quotations and stuff.
Yeah.
And Lee asked me on, and I did an 11-part series on the Mahavidyas, which is a grouping of 10 goddesses. I know I said 11, but it's a grouping of 10 goddesses from Nepal, who are syncretic between like Tantric Hinduism and Tantric Buddhism. And then I compared that to the Kabbalah Tree of Life, the Hebrew tree, not the contemporary one. So I did that. Then Nick asked me on from Occult Rejects, and then I've done quite a few guest appearances on various other shows. I'm a regular on End of Days Radio on Friday nights. So you can, I mean, if anyone wants to hear what I have to say, I don't know why, but I'm there. And then I have my own show, Threshold Saints, which is just launched last month. So yeah, it's really about Asian esoterica and just like interesting conversations with interesting people. Yes, it is more Buddhist in its orientation, or like Asian in its orientation, but it's really for everybody. If you're interested, people can definitely check that out on Spotify.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I will be putting all of Jin's links down below. I will have his link tree so that you guys can find all of his work. Just like he said, he's been with Nick on Occult Rejects, so have I. I've also worked with Mario from Symbolic Studies, and now I've had the pleasure of working with Jin and General Lee as well. So everybody that we mentioned, I'll go ahead and drop them down in the descriptions because they really, this is our little small community. And we're all esotericists and occultists, and we love doing stuff like this. And Jin's on my level with metaphysically, esoteric wise, and all that. And I couldn't be more happy to have him on. He's extremely knowledgeable, you guys. He really knows what he's talking about. If you're interested in Eastern esotericism, he's your guy. So definitely check his stuff out for sure. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I would really appreciate it if you would. It really helps the channel grow. I'm trying to reach and help and teach as many people as possible. Make sure that you like the video and comment down below. It really helps. All right, guys, so we're going to jump right in. Okay, so we're going to be talking about the Lesser Key of Solomon. Now, a lot of people think that this book is evil because it deals with the Goetia and theurgy. That is, you can say demonic. I hate using that term because it's when people say it, they automatically think, left hand path stuff and all of that. But here's the long and short of it. So magical grimoires, and I'm talking about one from the Renaissance era. And then you had a resurgence where people started to study them and they started to translate them from German, Latin, French, different languages into the English versions that we have today. And if, by the way, if you guys are interested you can get all these grimoires and all this information for free. It's on archive.org, and you can find the PDFs of all these grimoires if you want to study them. I've done some other work. I did the Arbitel. I talked about the Armadale. I've talked about several other Renaissance era grimoires too. If you guys are interested, you can check it out on Occult Rejects. I've got some copies myself. But basically how I wanted to set this off was magical grimoires are understood better in conjunction with each other. Okay, so that's why when you're trying to study them, they seem like, you're like, what? I don't understand what they're talking about here. They're actually a compiled, complete work. If you know where to look, and when you're studying these, it's a whole lot easier to understand them if you have previous knowledge. And I understand not everybody wants to sit around and read Renaissance grimoire, era stuff like that, but I do. And that's why I'm covering this stuff today, is because it's fascinating and I want to kind of help people see this from a different perspective. So it's imperative that you have all the previous knowledge of all other Renaissance grimoires to be able to understand them individually, to use them as a whole, as a reference guide for magical practice. Okay, so this is any kind of magical practice. If you're practicing Wicca or anything like that, eventually you're going to come around to, at some point, you're going to be directed to these grimoires. Okay, so we use them a lot in high magic because the high magical practice, ritual, ceremonial magic stems from information in these grimoires through astrotheurgy, which is, so when we say theurgy, we are talking about an alchemical term, which means to break down, to purify. If you're going to run something through an apparatus over and over and over again to purify it, if you were going to make a tincture, okay, an herbal tincture or something like that. So basically what high magic is, it is doing that with your soul through energy work, completely over and over and over again, running it through the ringer to condense it down to its purest form. Okay, so that's what these grimoires in essence are basically trying to help you do, okay, or what they are talking about. So the Lesser Key of Solomon is also known by the name Lemegeton, Clavicula Solomonis Regis, which translates as the Little Key of Solomon the King. So it was collated by a variety of authors, editors, and researchers. It dates back to the 17th century and contains a collection of arcane sigils and knowledge. The information in the full text is actually more about angels than it is demons. The Lesser Key is a grimoire of seals and sigils that trap and control demons to do divine work. Okay, so a lot of people think, oh, this thing is evil. Well, the purpose of this one in particular was for King Solomon to summon and bind the demons to use them for divine work. That's what's misunderstood about a lot of this stuff. So the Lesser Key, it's a metaphor for dealing with our own inner demons and learning how to integrate them into the psyche to become whole. So joining of the two polarities, we all operate and eventually learn to discover and integrate the shadow self. This is where shadow work comes in, to become whole and one with source again. The darkness holds us back, and we are all meant to deal with it, merge with it, and accept it, and learn about ourselves and it, and continue to grow. So this is our purpose here on earth, to evolve, to learn, to grow, and to ultimately, through our own alchemy, merge with source energy to escape the demiurge, or the process of reincarnation over and over and over again. Okay, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I will just say that I love the way you said that. I think that it's so important to like emphasize that really, and this is just my opinion, but I think that when you said like, we don't necessarily consider a demiurge per se, but we do consider like the cycle, like you said, of reincarnation or samsara. That is kind of like the functional demiurge. So that is really what the third G is. It's to purify your will, purify yourself, purify your karma, so you can move higher. So you can, and not just for like your future rebirths, for this life too. Like you can have higher consciousness. And I think it's really interesting how this book, exactly like you said, it kind of melds this idea of the celestial with the chthonic, with the angelic, with the quote unquote demonic. And that's a very something for tantric Buddhism that is very common, and people will look at the iconography and find it very like demonic and wild, and it does look wild, and it is kind of wild. But the reality is we are really talking about, like, I don't really love this term, but people do use it, and it is, it's a fairly good way to understand it. There's the shadow work sort of idea of like, first you work with the angels, like the 72 angels of the greater keys, and then you come and you do the 72 goetic spirits of the lesser keys. So it's a system that works together, and it matches the 72 names of God. And I know you have something about that as well this time, Megan, because we we talked about that.
Yes, absolutely. So let me see if I can get to that part. Okay. So basically what this grimoire is, is it is a bunch of seals and sigils and days of, hours of the day, moon phases, all this stuff to do these things at a certain point. And you have your angel names and you have your demon names. Okay. So, like yin and yang, everything black and white. You wouldn't know what the dark is unless you knew what the light is. Okay, so this is a, middle way. Buddhist is middle way. This is also very similar to the goal of high magic. Okay, so you have to use and work with both aspects. All right. So you have it's called the Shem Hamaparash, or Esh. Okay. Everybody kind of pronounces it differently. I was talking to Mario in one of my videos, and he was like, us occultists, it's hard for us to like pronounce things because we read all this stuff, but we never say it out loud. And we were having trouble with that. So I'm just as guilty as what he was talking about. Okay. So you have the 72 angelic entities and the 72 goetic entities. All right. So we're going to talk about that. Do you want to kind of explain to everybody what Kabbalah is, or Kabbalah, really quickly and briefly? Because I'm going to start getting into that quickly.
Okay, well, I will just say it is a kind of a tree, and I mean a literal tree, and it is kind of so people have heard the idea of dialectics, where there's a thesis antithesis and synthesis. That is basically what Kabbalah is. And it's a series of correspondences that are on this tree, which has 10 or sometimes 11 spheres. So each sphere is assigned a specific Hebrew, well, in the Hebrew tree, each sphere is assigned a specific name of God. So you would have things like, I'll just give a couple examples: Yesod, Gevurah, Chesed. Now, those just sound like Hebrew words, and they are, but they also have not just one layer of meaning, but they have 7 layers of meaning in each name. So like Chesed means mercy, Gevurah means strength, Yesod means foundation. So all the spheres are in that sort of way that they have all these correspondences associated with them. And so they might also have certain herbs associated with them. They have colors. Colors are very, very, very important in Kabbalah. But the kind of the goal is to kind of understand each sphere, and when you get to the inner core, it is supposed to be clear and pristine, and that sometimes the analogy is like lightning or like ice. So that's kind of the God consciousness in each sphere. But you are not supposed to worship the God consciousness of the outer densities. Okay, I know that's a little metaphysical, but just think of it as like a Russian nesting dolls. It's very similar. But the inner core, that's what God consciousness is, and it's clear. So there is no really a doll for that sphere. It's just clear. And so the whole purpose is to kind of, I think of it as climbing the tree. Other magicians have described it as descending. I like ascending better. So I think of it as climbing up to the crown, which is Kether. Now, in Buddhism, we would consider more of a Ein Sof to be the sociological goal, like to push off from Kether and into the next world or into the world of formlessness. That would be more of our goal, but you would aim basically for the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
so that's
absolutely.
basically Kabbalah in a nutshell, I think. I
Yes.
don't know.
Yes. So if you guys are wanting to know about the tree that we're talking about, you can Google Kabbalistic Tree of Life, and it will show you the Sephiro. You may come across one that has 11 Sephiro on it, and that's the At, which is hidden knowledge. Okay, so that's what you hit before crossing the abyss.
Yes.
So I just kind of wanted to give a foundation there for people that aren't familiar with this
100%.
stuff.
I'm sorry.
Oh no,
I
no,
just
no.
thought,
Yeah,
but you're totally right.
Not at all. It's just that this stuff is kind of hard to understand if you're coming at it from a different angle. But that's why I want to cover stuff like this. That's why I want to do this, so that people can learn this stuff. So basically, if you want to know what that tree looks like, you see it. There's correspondences. There's angel correspondences. It even ties into tarot. You have the 22 major arcana in the tarot. You have the 22 paths on the tree of life.
Yes.
So there are tons of correspondences. And I will tell you guys, most occultists and secret societies, they have a basis in Kabbalah, Hermeticism, 7 Hermetic principles, all this stuff all ties in together. So all the videos that I'm doing, all the work that I'm doing, it's all ties in together. So I'm trying to, my goal is to show you guys that all of my videos come together to aid you in your spiritual awakening path. Okay? And I know that we're talking about this stuff that may seem a little heavy, but you've got to see it from somebody. And I would rather you hear it from me and Jen than, just trying to go in and watch a channel like Esoterica when you don't know, all the basic background, because some people take it from a more of a schooling aspect or academic aspect without really practicing. The difference is me and Jim practice this stuff every single day, and it's a part of our lifestyle, and we use it every single day. So I'll go ahead and talk about that. So I'm sorry I went off on that tangent, but I just wanted to explain that to you guys so that you would understand it in a real tangible way and understand the foundations for it. Okay, so in Kabbalah, there is a series of meditations known as the Shem Aparesh, or the 72 names of God. These are not literally the names of God. Rather, they are powerful mantras or a set of mystical Hebrew names, each consisting of 3 letters. Okay, so these names are believed to possess certain spiritual powers as combinations of divine energies that can help with healing, protection, and other spiritual endeavors as they help us focus and use the gifts of spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So these 3-letter combinations are often used as amulets or talismans in various purposes. Kabbalists wear them or place them in their homes for protection, prosperity, or to invite specific blessings into their lives. It is believed that chanting or meditating on these names can align one's energies with divine forces and bring about positive change. So that's a lot about ritual magic. We are vibrating the divine names of God.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't understand that when you're practicing high magic, ceremonial magic, ritual magic, that is what we are doing. We're actually physically performing. We are writing pentagrams and hexagrams in the air with our correspondences, crosses, all of that stuff. Okay. And when you're doing that, you are actually in a meditative and theurgic state when you are vibrating these divine names. So a lot of people, they hear, oh yeah, well, okay, practicing occultist. They don't understand that is actually what we're doing. And a lot of lower magical practices, Wicca, actually Gerald Gardner, who created Wicca, he was very into high magic. Well, I think what he wanted to do was he wanted to take high magic and he wanted to shorten it down, because we work on ritual, practicing the same ritual for months on end to get it down pat and get it perfect. I think he wanted to water it down and lessen the time, because I could spend easily 3 or 4 months doing the exact same ritual to get it down pat. So I think what he wanted to do, and this is just a theory that I have, is that he wanted to shorten it so it didn't take so long. Because high magic rituals, if you go through every single ritual, your ass is going to be there till 3 or 4 hours till you get to the Rose Cross ritual and beyond, right? So you're going to sit there and do this stuff for hours on end. So the goal is to practice this stuff a little bit at a time, get really good at it. So I think what happened there was he took a lot of stuff from high magic. So did chaos magic as well.
Yes.
They took high magical aspects and then added either a left-hand path with Libernal and the Cycle Knot, or you have Wicca that is really practical magic, herbal magic, candle magic, all of that stuff. We still use that stuff in high magic, but it's kind of a different perspective. And that's kind of what I want to explain about this for you guys that are, on that path. There's actually absolutely nothing wrong with that path. We were all on that path. Me and Jin were just talking about this. We were all on that path before we got on this path. Okay. So I'm just trying to give you a little foundational knowledge here is basically what I'm
100%. Megan, do you mind if I just read?
Yes. Yes. Go ahead.
There's just a quick thing. So I know this is from the Bible, but this is sort of the essence verse of the Hashem HaFaresh.
Yes.
So it contains all 72 letters of the Hebrew alphabet in this verse. So it's Exodus 14:14.
Okay.
And I will just give it a quick read. I'm quite fast, so nobody, it'll be fast. So, and the angel of God, who had been going ahead of the camp of Israel, now moved and went behind them, and the pillar of cloud went from in front of them and stood behind them. Thus the pillar came between the camp of Egypt and the camp of Israel, making it cloud and darkness to the Egyptians. But it gave light by night to the Jews, so that the one came not near the other all the night. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and God drove back the sea with a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea dry land, and thus the waters were divided. So I will mention that that's a very important idea, that the God dividing the waters, because if you look at Genesis, that's also a very important concept, is God divides the waters of the heavens between the waters of earth. So you kind of have these, what I would call parallel sort of cosmological events that happen between certain biblical stories, specifically about Moses, because he is considered to be kind of the chief Kabbalist, especially in his era. There are different prophets, obviously, that take on that role, but Moses is very important, and Moses also by some people is said to become Metatron. So Moses sometimes is said to transform into Metatron when he climbs the mountain. So he was kind of the master magician. That's how often people in esoterica think of him. Not so much as like a saint or a prophet, but definitely someone who was a magician. So I'll just throw that out there and just say that. And, if I know a lot of people, and Megan and I definitely discuss this and we're on the same page. I know a lot of people are uncomfortable maybe with some of the biblical things, but it is very important to kind of be able to relate, especially for the keys. Now, if you're
Yes.
doing other grimoires, maybe it's less important, but for the keys, it becomes very, very important. And the version that I have open, which is the DeLawrence Company version,
Hmm.
they even have like a whole little introduction about how the study of the Bible is kind of imperative to what they call the Kabbalistic arena.
Hmm.
So I just will say that you kind of have to have a basic, at least a basic reference point. And if you're uncomfortable, maybe this is not the text for you, but it's still very interesting to learn about. And it's also another way to think of the Bible in a more metaphysical way. So you don't have to be so limited by dogmatism.
Exactly. I couldn't have said that better myself.
Well, thank you, Megan. I appreciate
A-
that.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, I had an aversion to it at first, right? When I started practicing high magic, it was like, oh, you start hearing Bible verses and concepts and allegories and analogies and all of this stuff. Now I fully embrace all of this stuff,
Hmm.
even though when you're getting into this esoteric path, you have no idea that's where you're going to end up, and you end up ending up there. And I was just talking to him before we started the show. Yeah, it all comes full circle, and
Hmm.
I understand why you would have an aversion to it. I did as well, and now I see it from a completely different
Hmm.
perspective, and we take it for what it was intended for now, instead of what it's turned into modernly, if we want
Hmm.
to say it like that.
100%. Could
Yeah.
not, yeah, I totally agree with that. And I will also just say that it's very important to have that biblical reference for this, not just because Solomon is a biblical prophet, but also because especially the goetic spirit. This is also true of the angels, though. So,
Yes.
like you said, don't the to distinguish them too much is wrong. And I
Right.
think that that's right. Like they're both like they're extremely powerful entities, beings, whatever, like however you think of them, they're very powerful, and they all respond to certain names of God. And so that is why sort of you have to have that reference point to really be able to do what you need to do,
Yes.
right? Because you
Yeah.
can't just do it, like it can't just be chaos magic. Now if you're approaching it through chaos magic, I personally wouldn't do that, but you know some people
Yeah.
might. But
Yeah.
maybe you don't need that. But if you're really following like a grimoire tradition, then you really have to do it by the text. It's very important.
Yeah. And when we're referencing chaos magic, so I know we're going off a lot of tangents here, but we're trying to portray this in a way that you guys would understand. So,
Hmm.
chaos magic is basically high magic with left hand path magic. Okay, so
Hmm.
what they call what we in the metaphysical realm would call ether or spirit, right? They call it chaos. So they've replaced spirit or ether,
Hmm.
that realm, with the word chaos, because everything was born from chaos and everything comes from chaos and creation started that way. So that's their viewpoint on it. I would highly recommend that you read Liber Null and the
Hmm.
Psychonaut.
Hmm.
It has to be on your list if you're interested in going down the chaos magic path. I see nothing wrong with it, but personally, it's not my thing. But you're going to come across it at one point or another if you haven't already. Most people on the path of the practical magic are going to know about that book, because it combines practical magic like Wicca, high magic, and then chaos magic at the same time. So, and left hand path. So it's
Hmm.
it's kind of out there. I wouldn't want to start out with chaos
Yes,
magic.
yes.
I mean,
No, you're totally right. I was just going to jump in and say that. Like, this is just my recommendation. Obviously, I think Megan's agreeing. Don't start out with chaos magic. I'm not
yeah.
saying that to trip anyone up or to put anyone down. I'm definitely not making a judgment, but it's really a benefit to yourself to do foundational work and
Mhm.
foundational knowledge. And the grimoires, what is really interesting about them is they actually provide all of that.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
it doesn't mean you have to follow the grimoire path forever and ever, but it is a very good foundation for your knowledge if you are not part of like a magical order. Like I've never been part of a magical order myself,
Me
but
either. I'm completely self-taught.
that's the same. So, for me, that is I feel like that is really the basis for your knowledge if you are just like a solo magician doing your thing. For me, that's my
Yes.
opinion, but that's
Yeah,
where I'm
I
at with it.
110% agree with that. Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to have a foundational knowledge. We were both talking about how we started out on the whole on Wicca path. We call it low magic, and we don't mean that as a derogatory term. It's just a way to separate it from high and low. So low magic would be like Wicca, candle magic, herbalism, all of that
Hmm.
stuff.
Hmm.
That's what we say. That's what we mean when we say low magic. You have to have that foundational knowledge before you can even attempt this stuff. I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys.
Hmm.
If you're going to go straight into high magic without any foundation, you're going to be in a world of hurt really quickly, because this stuff is no joke. It
It's
takes
very powerful.
Yes, it's very powerful, and it takes a lot of self-discipline and get
Hmm.
ready to be torn down and rebuilt a lot. A lot. And it's painful at some aspects. I mean, basically what you're doing is purifying yourself and integrating your shadow self, your dark self with your light self. And the things that it's done to me on a mental level, an emotional level even. But if you're not ready for it, you got to have that foundational knowledge. You're going to be in a world of hurt if you don't. So we're just trying to give you some practical advice here for you guys that are starting out on this path, or you're thinking about going down this path. It will help you in the long run if you have the basic knowledge of all this stuff.
I will just make a quick suggestion, Megan, is
Yes.
that this is not how I started, but actually I have like probably like a dozen of them. But there are some Botanica booklets by Anna Riva.
Oh, yeah.
And they're actually like, now looking back, like when I was young, I did not like them that much. Like, yes, you could use things from them. I definitely could have used things from them in the past, but they actually outline a lot of really interesting material, like how to set up your altar, how
Mm-hmm.
to use colors for the candles, how to use planetary incenses. There is
Yeah.
actually a very good introduction if you could get your hands on a couple, and they're very widely available as well. So if people aren't interested in like Wicca, like I was not one for Wicca myself, but
Mm-hmm.
I definitely was attracted to certain elements of like maybe Afro-syncretic magic, or like
Mm-hmm.
folk
Yep.
magic, or
Yep.
Catholic magic, or any
Yep.
of those. And there's many different kinds. I just said a couple, but like I live near a Botanica, so that's like why I would always go into the Botanica, and that was kind of my introduction. So for me, those were very good. And then looking back now, I actually can see that they give you a very interesting kind of foundation for higher magic, because
Absolutely.
they say like put your candles here, put your candlesticks here, have your incense burner here, and that seems very facile, but actually it's very meaningful once you're getting to do like higher ritual.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you brought that up. I always recommend stuff like that all the time. Like start out like the book that I started out with was I think it's Solitary Witch by Silver Ravenwolf. Like I learned so much from that book. How to I can't remember the exact name, but just look up Silver Ravenwolf, and I think it's like Solitary Witch Practice or something like that to that effect. I'll look it up behind me, and I've got my bookshelf behind me. You can't see me, Jen, but my bookshelf's behind me. So I'll get it and I'll put it in the description of the video. But Silver Ravenwolf, her books are pretty good for if you're just like starting out, or, the ones that Jen said. Any kind of book like that, you're going to learn a lot, and it's going to carry you really far and make it a
Mm-hmm.
hell of a lot
Mm-hmm.
easier on
Mm-hmm.
you when you start to
Mm-hmm.
do your ritual magic.
Mm-hmm.
Like
100%.
absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm so glad that you did that.
Oh, no problem at all. I mean, I remember what it was like being like kind of in the wilderness, and like,
Me
there's
too.
a lot of books. There's so many metaphysical books. There's like left hand path books. Like there's chaos magic books. There's like Afrosyncretic books. I mean, there's books for literally every different style and every different person. And it can just be really challenging to find something that is accurate and
Yeah.
that you can use to build off your knowledge. So yeah, I think it's really good to, for introduction, people, have something, and it doesn't even have to be the ones that Megan and I mentioned. Although I do
Yeah.
actually, Silver Raven, well, she got a lot of shit or flack,
She did.
but you know what? She is actually a very great example because she was always very flexible in her books. She was
Mm-hmm.
not like, you need to go buy an Isis statue. She was like, you can use a Mary statue. And that
Yeah.
is, for some people, I'm not saying to do that, but I'm saying for some people that actually might be a lot easier, a lot
Yeah.
more, relevant to their life. So I'm just saying that she has a great deal of flexibility with her work, and I think that that's a great
Yeah.
reference, Megan. So
Yeah, I mean, everybody shits on stuff like that. People shit on Modern Magic by Donald Michael Craig, when you're on the esoteric path. And I'm like, that book is phenomenal. It's one of the pivotal books for me. Like, I love that book. Um, sometimes people get on their high horse about this stuff, and everybody's got their own opinions. The long and the short of it, and I know, Jen's going to agree with me on this. Do what works for you. Don't worry about what this person thinks about this book or this method or whatever. Experiment. Try different things. Figure out what works for you. Like, I've taken high magic rituals and added my own shit, and come up with a whole different way that I do things that works for me. And it took me, months and years to figure that out. And you're just going to continue to evolve over and over and over again, right?
100%.
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal, right? Is to get it to the point where you have the knowledge and then you can switch things up and do them the way you want to. It's the same way with that type of magic too. Don't let anybody gatekeep. And there's so much gatekeeping and witch talk and all this stuff, and it's sad because where do new people start out on this when there's so much information everywhere on the internet now? Like, I started out reading books from the fucking library.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, totally agree.
And so it's like, now you have all these people that have their own opinions and everything. I'm just going to say this, and I've said this in my previous videos in my classes, you guys, like, do things the way that feels right for you. It's not cookie cutter. Everybody's going to be different, and you're all going to have different backgrounds.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and don't let all this gatekeeping stuff, and there's a lot of really good information on TikTok, and there's a lot of bullshit on TikTok. I'm going to tell you guys that right now. So,
I will just say people should buy some books, like physical books.
Yes.
Because like I owned Scott Cunningham his herbal book.
I had that one.
And everybody had it at one time. I think everybody's owned that book. And it's an imperfect book, but it's a very good primer book. And when you don't like something in a physical book, you can cross it out and you can write margin notes.
Yep.
So, and that's exactly what I did with my copy, is that when I would think, okay, well, Scott, where are you coming up with this information? Sometimes he has really good information sometimes, and sometimes I disagreed with it. And that's perfectly okay. So I would say, I don't like this. There's no source for this. I'm going to write in my own attribution that comes from this source. So that is the one, I think, benefit, is that you can really, and journaling. I mean, that is a very 90s kind of like very Wicca, but
massively important.
Amazing thing that every person who wants to be a magician should really do.
Yes. You have to, actually. It's part of your practice.
Yeah, 100%.
Is to write down, like, I keep track of the moon phases. I keep track of what sign the moon is in.
Yeah.
I keep track of the weather. I keep track of my emotions. I keep, all of that stuff. And you can look back on, and then what's going to happen? You're going to start seeing patterns of the way that you're acting, and you can start to associate it with the planetary aspects, what's going on astrologically, because that's what we are. We are, on our bodies, is a mirror reflection of the cosmos. It's where we come from. Okay, it's all connected. It's all one thing, and people don't realize how much energy is is changed and converted, and how it influences you on a daily basis. Just interacting with people on a daily basis is going to mess with you. So knowing where these energies are coming from, whether it be astrologically or people wise, or just from inside you yourself, you know, from past traumas or this or that, and working through yourself. It's all very cohesive and it's all connected. And I really wanted to like drive that point home, you guys. It's like all this stuff is very, very connected, and it all has to do with each other. And so, yes, journaling is going to be wonderful, so that you can start to see the patterns, and you will even start to notice how the weather affects your emotions. So.
Percent. And Megan,
Yeah.
let me ask you a question. Now, this isn't
Yeah.
so much for me, but for people listening. Do you do any kind of, is there an incense you like, or do you smudge, or do you do something before you
Yes.
begin reading the grimoires? Because I know I do something. So,
Yeah. So I use Palo Santo, frankincense, and myrrh are my favorite, and sandalwood and cedar. So I like woodsy scents. I'm a really musky girl. I love musky scents. So I use a lot of that stuff to cleanse my space before I get started on my ritual work. I'm not going to go step by step on what I do. I've got my own method down, but yeah, I do use that stuff. Frankincense and myrrh, because I'm a huge fan of the Renaissance era and Catholicism, and that's what they use. And to me, it feels the most holy to me. So that's what I burn in my ritual space. I have my altar going. I burn that stuff, and then I get to work. I do my meditations, affirmations, invocations, and then my rituals. So basically, yes, that stuff is really important. And here's what it is, guys. Those things are actual, I don't want to really call them training wheels, but what they do is they get you in the mood, and they get you in that part where you need to be, to get you in the right headspace and the right mind space to do the ritual work. They're not completely 100% necessary. The idea is you get dropped off in the middle of the woods, you can still do magic if you're naked and have nothing, right? But the point is, those things are going to get you in the right headspace. Like, I have to have them. It's just part of my routine. It becomes a routine. But yeah, absolutely, that stuff's very important, you guys. So figure out what you like to use. Figure out what scents you like, and then keep those. If I'm home, my altar's going. I mean, that's just how it is. And then you know, it's going all day long. And then, you know, I'll light fresh stuff for my rituals. But yeah, what Jin's saying is totally, yeah. You figure out what you like, and then use it, because it's going to get you in that right frame of mind. It's a certain frequency that you start to vibrate at when you have that stuff going.
and you can even do it before you read like text, like we're gonna do. Like, you can totally do it. I do that before I read tantras. I do that before I read liturgical prayers. I do like just a mini little guru prayer. Tibetans have so many guru prayers, so I just do a little quick one, and I burn. You know, I'm with Megan. Like, people are gonna think that I'm just copying you, but you know, I really love cedar. Tibetan Buddhism, we use cedar pretty much for everything, so I'm a big cedar person. I do also love palo. It's easy. It's just like a stick, you know. People, it's so, like, you don't have to worry about burning down the house, but you get a lot of smoke out of it. It's like, and it smells great. And I love camphor. I love dragon's blood. And so there's a million, and I love frankincense and myrrh and benzoin. Actually, I'm a big benzoin person, because
I
I love
like benzoin too.
yeah, because it's like, you know, sometimes you don't want to over cleanse. Sometimes you want to bring in a little blessing, and then some of those sweeter scents, they help bring in the blessing. So I think that that's a great introduction practice. But it's like Megan said, you should be able to go in the woods, redwood forest in California, and just, you know, you're nude, and you should be able to do something, really. But yeah, you know what, it just helps you get in the mood, and that's really what it's for. It's for like that practice, that knowledge, that like bringing it into yourself. Yeah, so just set the intention, and yeah, we're gonna do it now.
Yeah. That stuff is great. And I'm sorry we kind of went in a different direction here with this, you guys, but I think it needed to be said because I mean, our whole conversation before we got on here to do this show was about this, was about, you know, our practice and what's really necessary and what's not, and what kind of foundation should you have, like, and all this stuff. And we just think it's super important. I know, like, you know, we're talking about the Lesser Key of Solomon here, but this is all connected, you guys. It's all connected
100%.
together. So, all right, well, I'm going to get back on
Yeah,
track
I
here.
apologize. I just
No,
wanted to...
don't apologize at all. That needed to be said. It was something that needed to be said. And like I said, this channel is about helping as many people as possible. And I think we went down a great rabbit hole. Okay, so we're talking about the 72 names of God. So in the Torah, there are 3 consecutive verses from Exodus found in chapter 14, verses 19 through 21. Each verse contains 72 letters. Kabbalah masters saw this as a rare mystical phenomena. Because of its unique nature, the letters of the 3 verses can be arranged as 72 triplets of letters. So the ancient Kabbalists taught that if we reverse the order of the letters in the middle of the set, the 72 triplets become the 72 names of God. And that's where they come from. So in Hermetic Kabbalah and Goetia, I'm going to just talk about this really quickly. So Samuel Liddell McGregor Mathers was an occultist, and he took Blaise de, I don't know how to say this guy's last name, Vigenère. His manuscripts were also, so he took them, and when he was in the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, and he translated them. And then you get, so let me see. So what all of this stuff is, if you want to know a little bit more about this, Google Athanasius Kircher's work, and he has a diagram, 360-degree diagram that has to deal with these different aspects that we're talking about. This Key of Solomon is a tiny little portion of that, okay? So 4 is the number of the letters of the Tetragrammaton, which is, you know, Yod, He, Vav, He. That's one of the, we say that all the time in our ritual work. Okay, so it's the name of God. 4 is also the number of the letters of the name ADNI, which is representative and key. The latter name is bound with the former and united thereto. Thus, IAHDVNHY, forming a name of 8 letters. 8 times 3, the number of the supernal triad, yields the 24 thrones of the elders of the apocalypse, each of whom wears on his head a golden crown of 3 rays, each ray of which is his name, each name an absolute idea and ruling power of the greater name of YHVH, which is Yod He Vav He Tetragrammaton. Okay, so that's basically how Hermetic Kabbalah ties into this and gives you a really, you know, brief synopsis of the 72 names of God. So that's where that comes from. Okay, so the Lesser Key of Solomon is these 72 goetic entities. So it's like the opposite. Is there anything else that you wanted to add in there?
No, I think you did a really great job. I would just say that the numbers that Megan mentioned are all very important, and they're all very numerological, and they all have like very, I would say, multi-layered significance, in that they have like a outer layer meaning, but then they also have like inner layer meaning, and that's really what Kabbalah is. It's the looking for the inner layer meanings. And yes, you can use math, and yes, we are saying Hebrew names and Yod He Vav He and all of that, but the math can be a way to understand it just as well. If you're better with numbers, then that's okay too. I'm better with words myself, so for me, I'm not as math oriented. So yeah, I like the words and I like the symbols. I'm better with art and the names. So, but if you're good at math, there's a very good way. It's quite a bit harder, but you can do it.
So that's why we always talk about numerology, astrology, because it ties in. That's why all my videos you guys are seeing, it's all the foundational knowledge that you need to understand webinars like this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So the Lesser Key of Solomon, it appeared in the 17th century, but much was taken from the texts of the 16th century, including the oh gosh, I'm gonna butcher this. Pseudo-Monarchia Daemonum by Johann Weyer, the late medieval grimoires. It is likely the books by Jewish Kabbalists and Muslim mystics who were also inspirations. Some of the material in the first section concerning the summoning of demons dates to the 14th century or earlier. The Lesser Key of Solomon contains detailed descriptions of spirits and conjurations needed to invoke and oblige them to do the will of the conjurer, referred to as the exorcist. So King Solomon was the exorcist or the magician. It details the protective signs and rituals to be performed and actions necessary to prevent the spirits from gaining control, the preparations prior to the invocations, and instructions on how to make the necessary instruments for the execution of these rituals. Several original copies extant vary considerably in detail and in the spellings of the spirit's names, so contemporary editions are widely available in print and on the internet.
I will just say that I'd love to hear what Megan has to say about this, but in my opinion, the Skinner version is probably your best bet if you're looking at a physical. He fixed some of the seals, so that, yeah, as Megan is saying, there are 72 seals that go along with each of the spirits, both angelic and goetic, and so he fixed some of the Hebrew on the seals to make them more complete. So they're actually better seals. So if you want a copy that you can really like borrow or use the rituals from, that's a much better copy in my opinion. But everybody has their one that they like. The DeLawrence is perfectly fine. It's on archive. There's another one also on archive. So you use what you have, but if you're really serious, get the Skinner version.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. Okay, so the Lesser Key is broken down basically into 5 sections. Okay, let me see. Okay, so the first one, so these are different books, and you guys got to remember this. This grimoire was like a compilation of different people over different periods of time, adding to this grimoire to make it as the complete version as it could be today. Okay, so the first part is the Ars Goetia. Okay, so the first part is a book of evil spirits called Goetia, showing how he bound up these spirits and used them in general things whereby he obtained great fame. Okay, then you have the second part, which is the Ars Theurgia Goetia. And it is a book of spirits partly evil and partly good, which is named Theurgia Goetia and Aerial Spirits, etc. Okay. Then you have the third part is the Ars Paulina. It's a book of the spirits governing the planetary hours and what spirits belong to every degree of the signs and the planets of the signs, called the Pauline Art, etc. Okay. Then there's the fourth part, which is the Ars Almadel. Okay. And this book is called the Almadel of Solomon, which contains the spirits which govern the 4 altitudes or the 360 degrees of the zodiac. So that's why we kept like beating into it. You guys need a foundational knowledge. So if you don't understand astrology on a certain level, this is going to be hard for you to wrap your mind around.
Yes, 100%. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Have a witch's almanac or a farmer's almanac, even, have something. There's so many programs, so many apps. You have to have something. Do not ignore astrology. I used to do that. It's honestly makes your life much more difficult, and it will help make the ritual or even if you're doing what we call low magic, it will make it so much more powerful to align it with astrology. Like, honestly, night and day difference, like, it's not even really comparable, to be honest.
Yes, no, you are 100% correct on that. Absolutely. Numerology, which leads into gematria, astrology, which leads into theurgy. So you see what we're saying here? It's like all this stuff is going to be foundational knowledge that you will need. And just like he said, do not, you can, there's only so long that you can avoid astrology before you get to the more advanced stuff, and then you're sitting there going, oh my God, what is this? What does this
And if
mean?
you don't like astrology, that is okay.
Yeah,
But you need an app
the
or
basics, yeah.
something to to count it for you. Like, just have something that is a good tool that you trust that can help you kind of like figure out what dates are going to be the best for you. Even if you don't like it, that's okay. And I didn't really like astrology at the beginning, but I used to. But what helped me was actually doing the Hebrew Kabbalah and doing the Hebrew tree, and then also Vedic astrology. I just resonate better with Vedic astrology personally. And some people will like that better, and some people will like the more Western astrology, and that's perfectly fine. And they actually are not that different. People make a big deal about how different they are. They really are not. It
No,
just
just
is
minor things.
very minor, yes. And color also helps. Like understanding the planets, the
Yes.
colors
Symbolism.
helped me a lot. Exactly. So there's many tools, and you don't have to like everything at face value. Like, I did not like astrology at first, but I've grown to like understand its deep importance. So I just offer that.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so the fifth part and last part is the Ars Notoria. So it's a book of orations and prayers that wise Solomon used upon the altar in the temple.
Yes.
That which is called Ars Nova, which was revealed unto Solomon by the holy angel of God called Michael. And he also received many brief notes written with the finger of God, which are declared to him by the said angel with claps of thunder, without which notes King Solomon had never obtained his great knowledge. For them in a short time he knew all the arts and sciences, both good and bad. From these notes, it's called the notary art. Okay, notary art. Okay, so I just want to point something out here really quickly. When I was rereading this again, I noticed that they used a term that's popular in astrology that's called the finger of God. It's an aspect that you get in your natal chart. I actually have one of these in my natal chart. I don't know if they're referring to this, but it sure sounds like it. Or maybe they got that term from this itself, because this book is heavily into astrology. But the finger of God in a chart is pretty rare. It's even more rare to have multiple ones. But it is an aspect that describes a divine mission that you came here to do. Okay, something that you signed up for before you reincarnated into this current life that you're in. I don't know if there's a connection there, but I wanted to bring that up. Maybe Jen will know the connection there, or maybe it's not connected at all. But when I noticed this aspect, it's called a yod in your chart, YOD, and not everybody has them. So it's a perfect isosceles triangle in your natal chart, with its 3 planets that come together. And since this is planetary magic, and we're talking about astrology, it just reminded me of that, and I wanted to bring it up.
No, I think that was an incredible point. I think that it is quite rare, as far as my understanding. Again, I'm not an astrologer, but I do know a little bit about astrology. I know that in Yetziratic astrology, which is a little different than the more mainstream Western astrology, but it's very important for like Hebrew Kabbalah, that it is considered to be a very, very important time for figuring out portents, like certain kinds of eclipses, certain kinds of planetary conjunctions, and especially for countries. I know it's heavily utilized for countries. Like you have to figure out certain birth and death dates, is what it's called for nations, because they actually have a different kind of time system that they use for countries. You can, not always, but that's a general way to think of it. And so I think that's really cool. It's a triangle, and you can make a quinsux. And if you ever are playing with candle magic, you'll know that that's very important. That's when you do the 4 points, sort of like altar to the four archangels, like there are north,
Or
south,
the
east,
four
and west.
watchers. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that is a very important concept, and yeah, just people should be aware of it. That's definitely something to write down in your notes if you're not aware, and like you can go look it up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So I just did a video with Mario from Symbolic Studies. It's about the four fixed signs of the zodiac, or the four
Oh,
royal
that's so
stars.
interesting. That's so funny.
Okay, so if you guys want to go and check that out, if you're wanting to learn a little bit more about astrology, so in High Magic we talk about the four royal stars all the time.
Hmm.
They're a huge deal in astrotheurgy. So if you guys are interested in learning more about the four fixed signs of the zodiac, earth, air, fire, and water, east, west, north, and south, all that stuff, that's what we're talking about right now. So if you guys are wanting to know, go check that out. So that's pretty much all I have on the subject so far. So unless there's anything else that you want to add.
I'll just throw in a couple, like, just quickly, just sort of thoughts. But I actually
Yes.
really love the Ars Notoria as like I don't want to call it the starter version of the whole like keys, but I think it's easier for perhaps people who, if you're into fantasy books or like you're just like getting and dabbling in magic, just like maybe just like intellectually, maybe not practicing. I think that actually the Ars Notoria is a very interesting book to read. I think that the prayers are very beautiful. I think that you will understand things if you're a particularly strong reader. I think that you will understand things quite well. I think it explains a lot of the sort of maybe inner layer of meaning, which is not necessarily the secret layer, but it's definitely like it's probably the most important for a working magician is the inner layer. So you're going to it explains all of that. Like it says the efficacy of words, an explanation of the notary arts. Like that's a whole paragraph, right? And it talks about virtues and humane reasons and the significance of Hebrew and the significance of Solomon and the hours of the day, and it gives you like a good little basis to like really understand what the whole grimoire is really about. And also
Yes.
I think something interesting, and maybe this is a little advanced, Megan, you can tell me if it is, but I think that there's something really interesting about the word choices in the especially the Ars Notoria, because
Yeah.
I think that they use very Kabbalistic terms. Like I
Oh,
said at the very
yes.
beginning, like I'll just read a quick little thing.
Yeah.
So, of every faculty of memory, which would be Yesod, intelligence, Binah, understanding, also Binah, but intelligence can also be Hod. It depends. But there are Kabbalistic kinds of um, references and correspondences you can make with the actual choices of words that are in it. So I think if you're interested also in Hebrew Kabbalah, this is a good little reference, and maybe even as a fun thing, you could look up or try and match the words to the set of correspondences within the tree and
That'd be
see,
the best way. Yes.
yes, and see like what can match. And it doesn't have to be like this thing that it's hard. It just is like you're looking, okay, so light of the angels, wisdom of the Father, though that's clearly Chokmah. Light of
Yeah.
the angels, you're talking about Tippereth. Okay, I understand the way you're talking about the glory of the saints. Okay, Hod, right? Like there's all these little clues, there's all these little interesting things, and just see like what you can come up with and looking at the elemental correspondences. So I'll just say that. And then I think you could probably even, I'm not saying that people should, but you could probably use some of the prayers pretty early on. Maybe
Yeah.
not all the prayers, but definitely some of the ones that are just like orations to the oration of Thanksgiving. There's no reason you couldn't use that as a starter practice.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. Yeah, this book is really feared in the occult world. But it's really nothing to be afraid of.
there's way, 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 way worse ones than this. This is like very tame, in my opinion.
Yeah. 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 I agree. I mean, there's some darker ones when you get into the Necronomicon
Mm-hmm.
and then there's some others which the names are escaping me at the moment. But there's some other ones that are pretty gnarly. Like, I don't want to get too far down on the left-hand path stuff. I know that Jin knows quite a bit about this stuff. But using blood and all kinds of stuff. I mean, this stuff is kind of a touchy territory,
100%.
and I don't really want to go down that
No,
road,
no, no,
because
no.
I mean, I understand it and I understand why they're doing it, and I totally like get it. I'm just not like ready to like go down the darker routes and start messing with that type of stuff. And also be honest with yourself, you guys. Be honest with yourself. Are you ready for the implications that this stuff can cause? That's why we're so adamant about you having a foundational knowledge of all of these books before you go and try to use them. If you don't know what you're doing, first of all, it's not going to work. Okay.
100%. And I just will say, yes, I'm totally with you, Megan. Like, I do not advocate LHP like at all.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm against it. I'm not anti, because obviously in Tantra we do use it, but we don't use any of the. Some of the things in more Western LHP are very different. We do a lot. It's all conceptual. It's all internal in Buddhism. Like, yes, we might offer like torma cakes in the shape of certain organs or whatever, but it's all vegetarian. It's very, we have ritual prescriptions for everything. So nothing is like blood offering. We might think that we might like transmute it with our mind, but it is not. And that, I find that to be more powerful and more important, perhaps.
Yeah, the intention.
Yes.
Right.
And the ability to sort of visualize and transform things.
Yes, that's
in
what
yourself.
This is all about. Yes, absolutely. So an integration of your shadow self. Another thing real quick before we go, guys, if you're really wanting to do shadow work and you're really wanting to look at the darker aspects of yourself and integrate them, you need to study Jung psychology. Jung was an occultist. A lot of people don't know that. He was a magician. He was heavily influenced by all this. Magic allowed him to come up with the theories that he came up with. Okay. So, and I will say something really quickly about Jung. When he was working with people, he started noticing that some of his clients were having alchemical symbol dreams. They were having dreams and alchemical symbols were showing up in their dreams with no previous knowledge. Okay. So understanding that stuff is going to also help you in any magical practice that you are messing with. Okay, so knowing your psychological aspects, why you do the things you do, what motivates you, all of that stuff is going to play really heavily in your practice, whatever that may be. So,
And I totally agree. Young, amazing, definitely a magician. Like, it's not even really a question.
yeah.
I will also say, you don't always need the goetic spirits or the left-hand path to do shadow work. Angels are very ferocious. Like, people underestimate angels, and you have to be very self-disciplined to really work with angels as much as you have to be to work with goetic spirits. So if you cannot handle your stuff with the angels, then you should not do goesha. And I'm not saying that is in like
that. No, thank you so much for saying that. I couldn't have said that better myself. If you're not prepared to work with angels, you certainly are not prepared to work with demons. You have to be in the right headspace to do that. You have to be at a certain level mentally, emotionally, to be able to deal with this type of stuff. So.
And don't do it if your house is very chaotic. Like some people have, and it's not a judgment, but people sometimes have very chaotic lives or lifestyles. And like Megan can tell you like that. I will tell you from my own experience, it is not a good recipe. It's not a good recipe. It makes everything so much more intense. It makes your emotions towards things much more intense, much more acute. and it makes the external things also a lot more intense and a lot more acute, especially if you are not following the ritual prescriptions. Like, I know in when
Mm-hmm.
we do sadhana, you must be clean. You have to have a bath before
Mm-hmm.
I do like my Ramala recitation. I take a
Mm-hmm.
bath. If I if someone is married and they have,
Mm-hmm.
nighttime relations, that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. But if you wake up in the morning, you need to take a bath. It's just
Yeah.
like a thing. And maybe that's a starter practice, but it's, if you cannot do that, if you can't like kind of understand those ritual ideas of cleanliness and not cleanliness, it's
Yeah.
much harder to do advanced practices, like almost impossible.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. I'm so glad that you said that. I'm really enjoying your perspective on this.
Oh, thank you so much.
It aligns so much with how I feel about, all of this stuff. And so he's absolutely right. Get the inside right and the outside will follow. If your life
Yes.
on the outside is chaotic, your internal life is going to be chaotic. And then you're
Mhm.
amplifying the energy on top of that. What a shit show, right?
100%, especially like a Marshall Angel or even Michael. Like, I used to like do a
Mm-hmm.
little bit with him. He is very hot. He can be a very hot spirit. It can be a
Yes.
very uncomfortable situation to invoke him when
Yeah.
things are already inflamed. So I will just say that is not always the best choice. And sometimes, you know, people might think this is like beginner or whatever, but it's perfectly fine to invoke like uh cooler angel or like Gabriel, or like, I
Mm-hmm.
know that people think it's like feminine and cooling, and it is, and sometimes that's okay. Just, I'm going
That's
to say that
fine. You got
that's
to have male,
perfectly good.
female polarity. Yep.
Agreed, totally agreed. And it doesn't make you like a less of a mage, less of anything. It just, sometimes we all have different needs. Like in Dharma, we'd say there are different kinds of Dharma practices for different kinds of minds. That's
Mm-hmm.
perfectly okay. And maybe you're not going to resonate with every single thing. And maybe
Right.
different angels will present a lot more difficulty than others. Like, that's why I used to find some were very easy, and then some were very difficult. But that's okay, because then you look at, why is this difficult? Why am I not able to kind of like get in the mindset for this angel? Why am I not able to, connect like very easily?
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe
Right.
those are things that you have inside of you that you need to rectify. And maybe you're not living right. And that is, the angels
Yeah.
really, the angels are not, they don't care that much about like offerings and any of that stuff. Like, yes, they
No.
like nice
Mm-mm.
incense, but
Yeah.
they like you to live right. That's your best offering
Yeah.
for the angels. Live right, take a hyssop bath, hyssop and cedar. That's a good way to start. That's my little recommendation for low magic if you're going to do it.
Yeah.
So, just like start easy, start small, meditate. Megan, I know Megan's like big on that. I'm really
Mm-hmm.
big on the meditation
You
myself. I
have
do
to. You have
every
to.
single day. You have to do it. You must do it.
Yes.
And, the angels really like that too. So,
Yeah.
and get good with
You have to come right. Okay. You have to come correct.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
you
just say
really
it
do.
like that. You
No,
have
I
to
think
come
that's,
correct.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And just be prepared. It's not always like fun and games. It's definitely
Oh, God,
actually the
no.
opposite of that most of the time.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, when you're sitting there in a deep meditation and you figure out some really deep connections with why you do the things the way that you do and why
Mhm,
you did
mhm,
that
mhm,
20
mhm.
years ago and why and it gets intense, okay? And you're
Yeah.
dealing with a really intense energy and you have to bring that intense energy in to cleanse yourself. You are
Mhm,
uniting with the divine. That
mhm.
is the purpose of all of this. You are
Yeah,
returning
100%.
home. Returning home.
Clearing the
Okay?
blockages from the inner channels.
Yes.
I mean, exactly. That's exactly like opening the light channels to the higher power. That's what you're doing.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's not always,
Chakras.
yeah. And that is not always going to be fun, comfortable, easy, or like, it's sometimes it will make your life a little chaotic and will make you
Yeah.
very uncomfortable. It will make you emotional. But that's
Mm-hmm.
the other thing about the meditation, is that should be the time where you kind of bring that all back in. You kind of look at it and be like, okay, this is a really challenging practice I'm doing. I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, so like a easy beginner practice for me would be do Vajrasattva. So it's like the preliminary practice. Everybody does it. It's like a purifying practice, karma rectifying practice. It can be really challenging, especially at first, because you have to kind of like address all the fuck ups you've made.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that is
God.
not the most comfortable. You have to kind of like, you have to do an inventory sort of thing, if you want to use a
Yep.
modern word. So,
Checklist.
yeah.
Checklist.
And, the higher spirits definitely will do that for you. So it's better that you do it for yourself. And it's better that you have already addressed it, because you don't want to, like, so say you do you accomplish, like, I don't know, like a bunch of the angels. Then you hit one and it's really difficult. You can't do it. You can't do it. You can't do it. But then you kind of sit, you look at yourself and say, why can't I do this? Oh, okay. I didn't address this about myself. And then you'll be able to do it. I promise.
Yep.
That is really much more how it works than not. So
Absolutely. I couldn't have said that better myself. Oh my God. We're like so on the same wavelength. It's like blowing my mind right now.
well, that's honestly what I thought, Megan, when I heard you do your tarot series with Nick. So I'm so glad we were able to do this, really. And I feel like it was full circle for me. And just like, everybody has their own like little style or their framework, but it's very similar. It's much more similar than it's not.
I think so too. All right, guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and let you go. I hope you really enjoyed this. If you guys have any questions, comments, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. We are definitely going to be working together a lot more on all of this stuff, so that we can help guide you guys on your path. I mean, I think between the both of us, we could really give you guys some real solid foundational knowledge and interest in this stuff. So again, I will put all the links down below. I've got Jin, he's from Threshold Saints. You can follow him on social media. I'll have his link tree. I'll have my link tree as well if you guys are interested. Please subscribe if you haven't, and please go support Jin the Ninja at Threshold Saints. He is fantastic. He is a wellspring of knowledge. Absolutely phenomenal. So Jin, thanks for coming on. I had a blast, man. We've got to do some more work. Absolutely.
Yeah, we would definitely will. Then thank you so much, Megan, for having me. I think it was really cool. I love connecting like this. I love talking about magic. It's like my favorite thing.
Mine too.
So yeah, everybody can follow me on social, Wukong Reborn on Twitter. I get a little spicy, but I mean, I promise you will, like, if you like Eastern esoterica or Eastern esoteric art particularly, you will probably find something on my feed. So yeah, check me out, and then my link tree, Megan, will put it all in the show notes. So thank you guys, and thank you, Megan. It was really fun and amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Had a blast, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know if you have any questions or if there's any, and drop comments below if there's anything you want us to cover together, something that's burning for you. We're totally down to do that. But all right, guys, we'll see you next time. Later.
Hey, this is Jin the Ninja, and if you enjoyed the show, you can check out more episodes on Spotify and Anchor, and you can check me out on Twitter at Wukong Reborn, WUKONG Reborn, and on Instagram at Threshold Saints. And there's a link tree in the show notes, so you can check out all my appearances and my shows to date.